right, we are back with Golden State Hoop, our new rebranding of the Valkyries and Warriors podcast. As you can tell, if you're watching on video, Brian is out. Brian's actually hanging out in Hawaii, man. Like he left me. He's out and about. He's relaxing, maxing and relaxing in Hawaii. So in order to continue this new Valkyries Warriors one shop podcast theme, I had to bring back Conrado Pascual because not only is Conrado a giant WNBA fan, but he's also a big Warriors fan, big NBA fan, and he follows both teams very closely. So it fits perfectly with what we try to do here. Conrado, what is up, my friend?
I'm good. I'm great. Happy Friday to everyone. I know it's the long weekend, Labor Day weekend. So yeah, I think we're hitting the final stretch of the WNBA regular season. And as it pertains to like teams like our Valkyries, it's a playoff push probably till the final day. So I look forward to kind of diving in to talking all things Valkyries.
It is what are we? 7 games left for the Valkyries in the regular season, I think, something like that.
Yeah, 7 to
and
go.
There's 2 big games this weekend. This schedule is so funky. They pretty much had the week off, and then they play back-to-back at home. So
Yes.
Saturday, which I am attempting to go to, though I was talking to Conrado before we started recording. The tickets are not inexpensive, I would say, compared to Warriors tickets anymore. They're still not at that level. Warriors tickets are kind of insane, but you're spending a pretty penny to go to Valkyries games these days. Good for them, good for the market. They're popular, they're selling out. All of those things are positive, but just waking up in the morning and going like, I kind of just want to go to the game. Like, you got to plan a little bit ahead these days. But Washington on Saturday, Indiana on Sunday. It still doesn't look like Caitlin's playing, as far as I know. Sounds like the head coach had said they want her to actually go through full contact practice before she can get back on the court. And as far as I know, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the Indiana Fever coaching staff, they have been very, very consistent in saying that Caitlin remains without any timeline for return. And I'm an optimistic guy by nature, but usually like when it's worded that way, like they're really kind of preparing, the fans for the possibility that she may not return, this season. Now, I don't know, right? I mean, that's probably more speculation on my part, but it's just like certain wording, it's not really day to day, there's no real update about like ramping up her on-court activities. So yeah, not only do I think she'll likely be out this Sunday against Golden State, I wouldn't be surprised, right, if they sat her out. Because, I mean, it seems like she's just recurrent, like kind of re-aggravating the same injuries. So, obviously, you got to do what's best for her career long-term.
It's got to be frustrating for her and for the team because, I mean, we're seeing it with Paige right now, which is the college season ends, you immediately go to the draft, and then your WNBA season doesn't start it starts pretty soon after. Yeah. So last year, Caitlin went through that whole thing. Then she had the off season, and all we read about that was, okay, she needs to get her body right for the for the rigors of the WNBA season, more physical game. She's got to get stronger, and she does that. And yet now is when the injuries happen versus last year when she was kind of running on fumes. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, you try to do your best to prepare for these situations, both individually and collectively. But I mean, like, it's not like one injury has affected another, like other players' injuries. But I mean, it's just had this like kind of, again, not necessarily related, but it's like almost like a domino effect, right? They're bringing in more players, shuffling the roster, bringing in replacement players. Those replacement players get hurt. They bring in additional replacement players. Those replacement players get hurt. So I definitely feel for Caitlin and the entire team. Like there's just, I think they really were looking to build upon the momentum from last season and to establish even more chemistry and consistency. based on what they had kind of laid the groundwork last year, but it hasn't come to fruition for all those reasons.
Now, as we head into these weekend games, I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, the Valkyries are at home. They have the back-to-back. At least, as far as I can tell, the Mystics nor the Fever have back-to-backs. So actually being the home team here is to the detriment of the Valkyries because they have the back-to-back and not the road teams who come in. And I think the Fever actually plays tonight.
Yeah.
The Mystics, let me see if I can figure this out. The Mystics play. No, their next game is the Valkyries game. They have a back-to-back against the Sparks. So after the Valkyries, so Sunday. So the Valkyries are at the disadvantage here at home after having been off a week, at least when it comes to the back-to-back. The WNBA schedule is so funky to me. I don't understand how it works.
Yeah, I think moving forward, especially with the addition of, 2 more expansion teams and more coming in the next few seasons, I think the league office, they really do need to do a better job of scheduling. I understand that, let's be real, right? A lot of times how you schedule your home and away games is based on, the availability of the venue. Like, are there concerts happening or are there some kind of other, event? But it makes no sense, especially like when you have the team like traveling like across the country, like you go for like one game and then you come back, you go from coast to coast. They like the Valkyries have done that multiple times this season. It makes no sense. Like you'll come out for like one game against New York and then you're all the way back to California and then you play like one game and then you're on the road again. So yeah, I mean, I think moving forward, as this league is growing and there's more popularity, you want to see your stars play, and that's not to say like baby them, but at the same time, like, they need to be available and you need to control what you can control. And as you said, right, controlling the travel schedule for these players is probably paramount for the league's success, or one of the factors that will.
So where do you sit with what you expect out of this team throughout the rest of the season? Just giving out their next 5 games at the Chase Center. As we said, Mystics on Saturday, Fever on Sunday. Mystics have been struggling of late, though they have such great young talent. And I think they've played the Valkyries fairly well, though I think the Valkyries have beat them every single time. But every time I see Sonia Citron with the ball, I'm like, why is no one guarding her? Like she's ready to put it up. And then
I often ask, yes.
And then the Fever on Sunday. And then Tuesday, they go into New York. Now, New York is not the same New York, but I believe Brianna Stewart is back. So they're figuring out kind of their playoff push rotation, adding Miesemann like we had said last time. And I know they're still having these injuries here and there with Jones and such. And then Thursday, Dallas again. So that was the last game. They beat Dallas in Dallas. And, I thought they got a nice lead, and then Dallas made a little comeback. They actually guarded Paige very well. Paige was off on that game shooting-wise. And so that was a good win and a great game for Veronica Burton, who we'll talk about. And then next Saturday, at Chase again against Minnesota, who they've played. They've been game against Minnesota, but there's definitely a difference in the talent at the team level for those two teams. But it's a good challenge whenever you can measure up against the best team in the WNBA. So those are the next 5. What is your expectation for the Valkyries, who currently sit in the last and 8th spot in the playoff race?
So expectation and what I think needs to happen, I expect them to win at least 2. I'm hoping they will win 3 of those next 5 games. I mean, let's be real, right? Assuming New York and Minnesota are going to play like their best available lineups, because some people are still in and out with injuries. They will be heavy favorites in those matchups. As it stands right now, we are the early odds. The Valkyries are favored against the Mystics, the Fever, even against the back-to-back. and against the Dallas Wings. I think they need to win all three. They're very adamant. Obviously, the organization, coaching staff, the players, they are very adamant about wanting to make the playoffs this year. I said from the start of the season, somewhat spitballing and also kind of running some statistical projections. I think we were probably I think any team that wanted to make the playoffs this season, you'd probably have to win at least 22 games. You have to go 500. So right now we're at 19. Unfortunately, we have tiebreakers over the Sparks. We have currently have a tiebreaker over Seattle. So I mean, if we could win those next three, I think we'll at least make the playoffs. I feel good about that, like to get to 22. Now, obviously, they're going to want to go finish the season with the highest seed possible.
Yeah.
That's where it gets interesting. Minnesota at this point, I think health is not to get completely ahead of ourselves. I think because I believe after this Minnesota game, we play them one more time. I think that's actually the regular season finale for the Valkyries. Minnesota, they've already clinched their playoff spot a long time ago. I'm not sure what their magical number is to clinch the number one seed, but they're not too far away, right? They still have a sizable gap on the number 2 seed, I believe, Las Vegas. So what I'm saying is
surging aces, man.
The surging ace. I know, right? What a difference. Last time you and I got together, we were talking about like, oh my God, like, are they really is there doubt they'll make the playoffs? But going back to it, like towards the end of the season, some of those teams like the Lynx, if they're already clinched their playoff spot, they may kind of be, kind of just going through the motions on that final game of the season. Like they may, kind of rest some of their stars. So it might give the Valks, right, a little advantage in trying to steal one more win towards the end of the year. But we can't bank on that. So I would say these next 5 games, they really got to do what they can to get 3 wins. And I'll be real. I've said it from the start. Like, we just do not match up well against the Lynx and the Liberty. I agree with you. We have played them very well, but you see, like, it comes to like a certain point where kind of like the scheming, the strategizing hits a limit, and the talent of the Liberty and the Lynx respectively just kind of take over, right? Where like they have too many like primary options that like there's only so much I think the Valkyries can do to contain those teams' attacks. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that they can pick up 3 wins in the next 5 games.
If you were to make a prediction, do they make the playoffs? Brian on this show last time said he's locking it in. He thinks based on how the scenarios are playing out, he thinks at the very least the Valkyries are 8. And if you look at the standings, there's a clear path for them to get to 6, all depending on how the Fever play, because they're very that hole from 6 and below is very close. So if you play consistently, like I think what you're suggesting is, you're probably in. You're out if you just get if you just come across a crazy losing streak. But as you see with the Aces, if you could get on a little bit of a run, it is quick moving through the standings. So the Valkyries, if they could get on a run, they could very clearly get to the 6th slot.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe they will qualify for the playoffs. What seed? That's TBD. I actually do agree with Brian. I don't know if we'll be as high as 6, but I could see 7. We'll see. Obviously, we do directly control our fate in certain scenarios, right? We play Seattle one more time. So, I mean, there you go, right? That could totally determine not only making the playoffs, but, you can kind of solidify yourself as a 7 seed at that point. Fortunately, it sounds like, Tip Hayes, Carla Late, Monique Billings, they've returned to practice. I believe they've at least been practicing. So I don't know what their availability is for tomorrow, but at least I think we can expect some of our key rotation players to return. So, I mean, yeah, barring any additional injuries, I would say that we're going to make the playoffs. Yeah.
I guess we should also mention that they re-signed Bree Hall, who I was the last time that I was at Valhalla was against Connecticut, and she scored her first WNBA
Yeah.
bucket, which was a really fun moment. So it's good to see her back. And then I guess Zandalasini, I think, is a little bit of like if she can get healthy, there's something there for a late season run that stabilizes that team and that makes me like very confident. But without her, you're expecting players like Kate Martin to come in and shoot from the outside, Kayla Charles to shoot from the outside. And they're clearly just not the kind of shooters that Zandalasini is. Calf injuries are kind of funky, man. I think she's been dealing with this for a little while now. Some of it is probably just tread on the tires, but with the uprise in Achilles injuries these days, it is something to not take lightly. So I have no idea what her prospectus is when it comes to this injury.
Yeah, I mean, they have not really indicated any timetable or status. It just continues that she's out. Obviously, I'm with you. I hope she returns. I think that it's kind of ironic. Make no mistake, I'm not like, in no way am I happy or pleased that any of our other players got injured. But realistically, Chechi entered the starting lineup because Monique Billings went down, right?
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they were doing kind of like, okay, we had like our big lineup where we went Billings and Temi in the front court. She went down, so, obviously KT was already out. So Zandalasini entered the lineup. And in my opinion, I really think that Chechi and Janelle kind of like unlocked each other's games.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are like, okay, each of them kind of just needed to regain their rhythm, kind of recuperate from Eurobasket, which is very well true. But I think the two of them, I think Natalie found a way where like they basically run identical sets for each other, right? You can say, who's the small forward, who's the power forward, and they truly are interchangeable from possession to possession. They have like given they're both of them very, very proficient, in the mid range. All of like the flex action, the flex cuts that they're running, just like kind of like a 2-player game, was really effective. And then you started to see like Janelle get into an early rhythm. Like there was that stretch, right, where she was just like on fire, seemingly every game, right? First quarter, getting an early rhythm. They're setting drag screens for each other, which is a big thing, because now each of them are basically just stepping into shots, and how deadly both of them are in transition with their quick releases. Janelle, to her credit, has still been very good in Zandalasini's absence, but I think that brought an element where finally the Valkyries offense was truly clicking.
Yeah.
And frankly, like, I think they would have stuck with that lineup even once Monique Billings comes back. And frankly, I think that's better because I think Monique has to be like our backup 5. I think she's best suited as a backup 5. And I think at that point, they're not, neither of them are primary ball handlers, but you're starting to see their comfortability and their proficiency with like their dribble handoff game. And, Kate is kind of being developed as like Chechi's backup. Like she can run some of those sets, but she doesn't, again, as you said, right? She can't like quite step into her threes the same way. Like she can't flare into the corner, so that kind of limits the types of looks she can get off, right? Otherwise you're just kind of like hoisting something up. So,
which sometimes it looks like she's doing she's like, okay, I'm here, I'm getting the ball, I need to shoot this. And it does look like a hoist sometimes.
There definitely there are times I admire that she doesn't hesitate.
Yeah.
I also do think that there could be a little bit more of a middle ground where maybe you could be a little bit more patient or judicious. But see, that's the thing, actually. I was actually thinking about that before we got on the air. And I know Kate Martin took a lot of criticism for that one game where I think she like went 4 of 16, I
Yeah,
believe.
she was putting them up, man.
She put him up. She put him up. And I think some people kind of said like she may have shot us out of the game. But if you really look at some of those threes, a lot of them were actually created, right? And it was, again, a lot of the action that Janelle and Chechi would run together, right? Where Chechi will set like a screen on like the left low block, and then Janelle will cut baseline to basically suck in like 3 defenders, and then she's going to kick it out to like the deep left corner. I mean, I kind of understand what Kate was doing. It's like, if I'm passing it back into traffic.
Right.
This is the most open shot. I mean, I get it. It's just at that point, I don't know how many players we even had that day, like 7. Someone's got to take a shot. Like, I'm not going to be as hard on her for that, but I do agree that like there is some middle ground, kind of like some happy medium that she could find moving forward, where maybe she actually could become a more consistent rotation player. But I mean, obviously, if Zandalasini returns, that's probably not. It's a moot conversation, at least for this postseason.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about Veronica Burton, who has really come on of late, and my favorite player to watch on the Valkyries. I think she's such a leader on the court. Of course, she plays point guard, and she can calm this offense down. And Marcus Thompson from The Athletic has a great piece on her today, a little bit of a profile that kind of gives you a little bit of insight into who Veronica Burton is. And it was really, really cool to see, to read that. But I think she has over exceeded expectations of who she was going to be. And now you have people talking like, well, maybe she is the point guard of the future, and you can put pieces around her or around the team, knowing that you don't necessarily need a star point guard. You may have one. You may have a point guard who is going to grow and blossom into an all-star player. What do you think about Veronica?
I mean, I am probably leaning more towards that sentiment of she is this franchise's point guard. During after the time of the expansion draft, I was really high on the selection of Veronica Burton. But even then, like, I'm with you. Like, my expectation for her and my assessment of what her ceiling could be she's absolutely exceeded everything. Like, I wasn't even sure that she really is a point guard, not to be like a traditionalist, in the basketball sense, but my co-host of East Meets West, and he has followed Veronica Burton's basketball career, like going back to like her prep days. He was all like, I don't know, maybe she's like more of like a high-end combo guard. I don't know if she should actually be a team's primary ball handler or primary facilitator, playmaker. Oh my God. Like, she has absolutely emerged as one of the best pure point guards in the league. Like, I mean, I truly have a sense of security. I feel a sense of security when she handles the ball. Frankly, when she turns it over, I'm shocked, which is a good thing, right? It's like, that's how rare
she makes quality decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check, but I believe she's like she has the 3rd best assist to turnover ratio. She is amongst the league leaders in double-digit assist games, multiple double-digit assist games without a single turnover. I mean, that's pretty crazy, given that like her usage, her minutes played. Yeah, as you said, she has absolutely exceeded every possible expectation, to the point where I'm with you. It kind of really does, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but moving forward for the front office, how they want to continue building this roster. Because I mean, I definitely would have advocated, like, in the middle of the season or early in the season, just given the way she was playing, we should protect Veronica Burton in this next expansion draft. But now there's a difference. Just like, oh, we're protecting her, and no. Like, you're actually like, you're a core. You're a foundational piece,
right?
Because I still do believe that she has some some limitations in terms of shot creation off the dribble. But I mean, for the level of defender that she is, specifically at the point of attack, I think that more than makes up for any perceived limitations that she has offensively, like scoring wise, to the point where I would actually advocate building around those limitations, like find some actual primary like shot makers that can be an extension of her playmaking abilities.
By the way, shout out to Tulip Plays and JK in the chat. I don't think that's Jonathan Kuminga, though. We will talk about Jonathan Kuminga when we do our Warrior stuff. So one other thing
I have not seen him at Valhalla yet.
One other thing about Veronica that I think needs to be pointed out is who knew she was going to be so good defensively too? Like I'm a late viewer to watching day in and day out WNBA basketball, but they have done a really good job at stopping or limiting some of the top guards in the league this year, and I think she's a big part of that.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, depending on who you asked, again, like I remember, I mean, I knew this, but my co-host was quick to remind me that Veronica Burton was the 3-time Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, she definitely had the skills. She had the pedigree. But again, going back to it, was she more suited to be like a specialist as opposed to like, no, one of the premier two-way guards in the league? Because in my opinion, that is what she has become. Like, I think she really is risen the ranks of like the guard hierarchy. Because again, right, like the way she was used in Connecticut, you come in, you play like maybe like 5-minute bursts in each half, and they stuck Veronica Burton on like the other team's primary ball handler, and you're supposed to like just completely agitate them and pick them up like full court. She's doing that, except she's also like leading the team in scoring and assists and at times rebounding. Like that is where it's like, can you still defend at that high of a level with that much of a workload? And she is like, it's incredible. That's why like I see people like, you know, fans who are already turning their attention to the off season. And I see a lot of fans of other teams putting Veronica Burton on their free agent wish list. I mean, fortunately, Ohemanianen, smart, extremely, you know, it's not just drafting the talent. Did you draft the right kind of contract? Because she is our restricted free agent. I would be shocked if the Valkyries don't match any offer on her. So, I mean, I would imagine she'll be playing in Valhalla for the foreseeable future.
I do want to talk about the possible expansion protections here in a second, but I want to mention to the folks listening and also in our YouTube chat here, we are in the process of attempting to put together a Discord that focuses on the Valkyries, on the WNBA, also focuses on the Warriors and the NBA. We will still have, I still plan to have channels about the other Bay Area teams as well, because, you know, our entire thing is focusing on that. But if you want, my goal is to kind of get it out by the time the playoffs start. But if you want to get in a little early, if you want to kind of help us with the beta testing, anybody who wants to do that, shoot me an email, gg@bspnmedia.com. We have a couple of people who are going to be in there as we kind of create the channels and the little bit of instruction and such. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll get that out. But if you want to kind of help us test it, shoot me an email and we'll get you an early invite and you can kind of help us figure things out in there. Okay. You mentioned the expansion. If the rules of the expansion protections are the same this year as they were last year, who do you think are the 6 that get protected?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a number of times, and I understand why it's difficult for some fans to answer. I mean, obviously, a lot, as you said, a lot of these players have exceeded, I think, every expectation. I would say every single one, right, that has joined the Valkyries at one point or another has exceeded expectations. And of course, right, like I think that's the mark of a great team. being able to resonate and connect with their fan base. Because I think a lot of fans feel like they have like a nice attachment or connection to these players. But for me, if I'm looking at it, just moving forward with regards to roster building, we have to keep in mind that any player whose rights are affiliated with the Valkyries are subject to the expansion draft. So, for example, friend of the show, Yusuke Yoshite, right?
Yeah.
She would have to be protected, even though she's
Brian
not
reminded me about that, because isn't that how we got Carla?
That is exactly how we got Carla. And
Right.
another player who has yet to make her WNBA debut, Maria Conde from Spain, who I am so high on. If you watch FIBA ball, like, you'll understand my enthusiasm. I know a lot of our audience right now, they're big on European, like EuroLeague. And she's an absolute star out there. And it was clear, like, when we drafted her, she wasn't going to come over this year. Her hope was to come over next season. That's TBD. She got injured. We'll see. But to answer your question,
Was hers was it an Achilles as well? What was her injury? Yeah, it was a nasty one.
I mean, I don't want to say fortunately, but if it was going to happen, at least the timing was early in the season. So if she were to return, like, she would be able to return in time. It seems like she'd be able to return to full basketball activity around training camp. So, that opens the door. But to answer your question, 6, okay, Veronica Burton. This is in no particular order. Just Veronica Burton, Carla Late, Janelle Salon, Yoshite, Yoshite. This is where it gets really interesting. I'm gonna have to say Cecilia Zandalasini. I mean, she's consistently been one of the absolute best 3-point shooters her entire career, like both overseas and in the dub. And what's crazy is with Zandalasini, these are the types of players I like. Talk about scalability. It doesn't matter if she plays 5 minutes or 35 minutes. It doesn't matter if she takes 4 shots or 14 shots. Like, her percentages never change. Like, she's very consistent production. So I'd make her the 5th. The last one, this is where it gets tough. I'd probably say right now, Ileana Rupert.
Okay, so that's unless I misheard, you did not say Kayla Thornton. Did you say Kayla Thornton?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. And I've been asked that before, and this is where I'd have to ask clarity with my CBA friends about coring. Coring a veteran. Like, if I cored her, if I put the core designation on her, is that still make her one of the 6, or is she like a separate player?
Right.
Because if that's the case, I would probably put the core designation on her. My thought process, though, let's just say that's not applicable. Obviously, she's coming off of injury, where there is some ambiguity as to whether or not she'll even be ready for training camp. That wouldn't discourage me from signing her if I'm the Valkyries. It's just, would an expansion team want to sign a player, an older veteran, or draft an older veteran who's currently injured? That's why I'm like, maybe she might slide through. I understand that there are 2 teams drafting in the expansion draft, but that's the same thought process I have with Tip Hayes. I would absolutely love for either or both of them to return. But again, if we're trying to maintain a core to build upon moving forward, I'm probably going to go with those other players, because, a lot of them still have a lot of upside, several of them on their rookie contracts. And a team control for at least, depending on the player, the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, if depending on how, like, you want to work their team options and restricted free agency. So, I mean, I think that's a great way to maintain consistency. But I think a lot of these players have made the case for being brought back next year.
If, though, and I've seen a lot of this of late, which is the Valkyries have created the blueprint to expansion team basketball. And if, obviously, who is it? Portland hired for their basketball ops position, right? Hired someone from the Valkyries organization. Like, you would think that you would go, oh, this is kind of a model for us to build a competitive team on day one. Some of that is having a player who was willing to shoulder a ton of the load offensively and defensively from Jump Street, which was Kayla, and also Tip herself. Because if you don't keep those two, I would imagine that they would go, if the idea is, well, we're going to use this Golden State blueprint, not necessarily to build around those two for the future, but on day one, we can actually sell tickets and be competitive. Like, that is the new wave of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've already heard through a lot of league circles, like, media, WNBA media, that these upcoming expansion teams, not just Toronto and Portland, but the other teams, Philadelphia, Detroit, Cleveland, who are making their preparations for their eventual debut, they are definitely, not necessarily directly modeling their strategy after what the Valkyries, but they are trying to definitely learn and adapt from what the Valkyries have done. But having said that, unless perhaps the league is changing season to season, the question is at what point do they change the playoff format? Like,
right.
We're going to add 2 more teams next year, but is it still going to be 8 teams? Like, only the top 8 make the playoffs? Because what I'm trying to get at is, as we continue to add more teams, and unless the playoff format changes, you're less incentivized to push for a playoff spot, right? Like, the odds are now more that you're likely to not make the playoffs. And if that's the case, I think a lot of these expansion teams may kind of take the more patient approach that, say, NBA or MLB teams take, right? Where it's, okay, we are really just going to focus on youth player development, right? We are probably not going to be big, aggressive players in free agency. So that's what I'm saying. I could see that's where it opens up, especially when it comes to the draft. You're more inclined, you're more willing to, I can actually take some of these international players. They may not even come over in year one because, right, we're really building for the long term. Because right now, you choose your window. So I think they definitely could. But at the same time, as everyone knows, all fans know, this specific, barring a lockout, right? This upcoming summer, at least as it pertains to the Valkyries, and I guess to a lesser extent Toronto and Portland, it's just this upcoming offseason, a majority of the league's current players are going to be a free agent in one form or another, right? Unrestricted or restricted. Meaning that, I think that's kind of where, the Valkyries, again, I'd want to bring KT back. I'd want to bring Tip back. At the same time, given age, injury, Tip I don't even know anymore, if she's kidding or not about, retiring. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think the Valks will be a very desirable, destination.
So that they may be bringing in higher level players for their positions. I see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Let's kind of get to where I feel your expertise is, or at least your passion when it comes to basketball, which is
both
prospects and draft and all that stuff. Obviously, we don't know how the WNBA lottery or draft process plays out. I think the Valkyries, they had the 5th pick. I don't know if Portland and Toronto, where they're going to fit in for their picks and how that's going to work. But if the Valkyries make the playoffs, that means they're going to be out of the lottery for the draft. So, we may be talking a, post even behind the expansion teams as far as where the pick is concerned. So maybe you're talking 7 or 8 rather than a top 5 pick. So as it's a very early in your draft board season. We talked a little bit about that last week about the Spanish player that you had very high. And we also talked about Lauren Betts. We talked about AZ Fudd. Who kind of behind those players, more into that 6, 7, 8 range, are you high on, who we should be kind of looking out for, whether it's watching college hoop this year or figuring out, if they're overseas players? Like who would be pretty high on your list of, when college basketball starts, keep an eye on this person?
Right. There are a couple names I'll throw out. I've purposely not really posted too much, right? Because I like to just kind of like unveil my draft content, like make a big bang. But people hit me up every now and then. I'll answer their questions. Yeah, I mean, if the format stays the same, then if the Valkyries make the playoffs, the highest we'd be picking in the draft is 8th, right? It'd be the 5 lottery teams, the 5 teams that didn't make the playoffs, Portland, Toronto in some order, and then the Valkyries. And obviously, the higher seed we are, the lower we pick in the first round. My personal big board already seems to deviate from mainstream big boards or mock drafts. So I'll just kind of preface that. However, I think the players I'm about to say it's not completely wild if they're taken in the top 10. So let's say we have a top 10 pick, like 8, 9, 10. One player who I think, if she's still available, would be a fantastic is Connecticut power forward center, Sarah Williams. Just absolutely, frankly, I have her ranked a little higher than that. But again, if you see her on some of like the mainstream mock drafts, she's usually around that range, like the back end of the first round. Just incredible like ball skills for her size. She's about like 6'4", 6'5", extreme agile, like very agile. Again, not the size of Lauren Betts, but in 2025, again, bigs who can defend in space, who can switch, defend the pick and roll. She's really good at that. Offensively, very gifted around the rim, but not just like all layups. Very good, like mid-range shooter. So opens up that pick and pop threat. Very good passer. So I think she would really fit in with what the Valkyries like to do with kind of like their big to big screening action. We've seen Monique Billings and Temi Fagbenle do that a lot. And to their credit, this later in their careers, they're willing to kind of step out of their comfort zone this year. And on those like double screen high action, one of them is willing to let it fly from 18 feet or beyond the perimeter. I could imagine Sarah Williams doing that. So I like her. Another one is, again, this is interesting because I'm not sure if they kept all the players who I said we should protect. It might be a little positionally redundant. However, my draft philosophy usually is best player available, regardless of position. So there is Iana Martin from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And she is, again, just a very, very dynamic playmaking guard. I mean, I guess you could call her point guard, maybe combo guard. I don't think she's truly a pure point guard. But, I mean, again, just very creative playmaker in transition. Good shooter. Obviously, I know the Valkyries would like to upgrade at shooting. And, again, she is playing overseas. But she will be draft eligible. Right, just the nature of the draft rules for international players. Like once you hit that age, you're just automatically eligible. Like you don't really declare. So if they want to pick her, they can pick her. She's usually mocked somewhere in that range. And then I'll just give 2 more names real quick. This player I'm higher on than probably a lot of people, but Oklahoma wing Peyton Verhulst. I think she's got to be one of the most dynamic wings in this draft class, in the sense that like she's very good at everything. Is she great at everything? Not necessarily, but at that point, like, hey, this is like a true utility player. Like she could actually help. Like she on her own, it's like one of those types of players, like a force multiplying play, like a connective player, right? Like she on her own, you're not going to run offense through her. She's not going to be the primary option. She's not going to be the best defender, but she can kind of elevate the floor of any lineup she's in. I like her a lot. And then one final, just recently played at Georgia Tech, but she transferred to USC. I call her power guard, Cara Dunn. I truly respect guards who know how to have high rim frequency and high rim effectiveness or efficiency. She does that in spades. Extremely good offensive rebounder. Again, I think adding a little bit more size and length to the backcourt never hurts. Not as bad of a shooter, actually, as some people think. I think she's actually very good from the corners. She's just a little bit more selective, right? She's not an AZ Fudd or a Gianna Neepkins, right? The premier perimeter shooters from this draft class. But I mean, at that range, yeah.
All right. No, I like it. I like the names. It's never too early to talk about next year. And it's awesome that we can talk about next year. And we can still talk about this year because they're right smack dab in the race to 6, 7, or 8 for the playoffs. So it's a really fun time. And it's, this season, especially when it comes to like you have this idea of what you want the team to be. And then, okay, the realistic expectation is, they're probably not going to be very good. And much like Veronica Burton, the Valkyries have exceeded my expectation. So it's been a really fun watch so far. And we're about to get to, the stretch and we'll see how they handle the slightly more, I guess, Tip Hayes had a comment about why they don't play as well in the fourth quarter. And she was just like, I forget the exact quote, but the sentiment was like, man, you just got to be emotionally strong. Like you just have to like that. That's the thing. Right. So that's what I'm watching for is how they play down this stretch and how Natalie has them ready. But let's move on to some Warriors talk here. Warriors. All right. We are now moved to the death lineup. We left Pod Holla, and we are in the death lineup segment talking Warriors basketball. And, I think Warriors fans at this point are so tired of talking about Jonathan Kuminga, but I did want to ask you about what you think is going to happen because Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency is kind of holding up the Warriors' ability to do anything else. So what is your kind of your instinct here about what actually is going to eventually happen?
It's tough to say. It changes from day to day based on whatever report comes out and what report you choose to believe. It's clear that I would say it's clear he doesn't want to be a Warrior long term. I think that's fair to say. So the question is really, will he be a Warrior this upcoming season or not? I do believe I've heard from enough people in the know that the Kings are very serious about wanting to acquire him. But again, it's not even taking 2 to tango. In this case, it's a weird dance. It's taking 3. It's taking 3 to tango. Because, right, like the Kings may say they want him. They may even be telling the Warriors, hey, we're willing to trade for him in a sign and trade. The Warriors may say, hey, we're interested in doing that. But then Kuminga still needs to agree. Like, am I satisfied with the contract that you are going to sign and trade me for? It seems like the 3 parties cannot agree to anything. And that's not just the Kings. I know the Suns also registered interest in JK. So I don't know. Like, because I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, it's not even just because I'm tired of this holdup, but okay, a package involving Malik Monk isn't like the worst thing. Like he is a high level contributor, because that's the thing. Like the Warriors, they've said all along at this point, you know what? Forget the 2 timelines. We are trying to win at least one more championship in Steph Curry's remaining years. So if that's the case, like, okay, like Malik Monk could help win now, or I don't know what Phoenix was willing to send. But all I'm saying is like that kind of makes sense to me. at this point, I understand you're trying to maximize the value of, Jonathan Kuminga as an asset, and I don't mean to dehumanize him when I say that, but like in terms of a trade piece. But yeah, I don't think the longer this continues, to me, it's not like his value is getting any better. I think like it's just only decreasing and depreciating, at least with regards to being a tradable asset. So all that's to say, what do I think is going to happen? I think he's just going to sign the qualifying offer. I think that's what he's going to do. And frankly, I would just kind of prefer that clarity. Because then that kind of actually tells you, like, wait a minute, like, we're only worried about the now. We're not thinking about 2035 or whatever, And in that case, that opens up a little bit more cap flexibility, right? You can potentially target some other players via trade, because now I believe that would open up, I think possibly that opens up the mid-level exception, right? So you could use mid-level exceptions now to acquire players in a trade. Like, you could absorb their salary. All I'm saying is, hey, that actually might not be the worst thing at this point. I know Joe Lacob would feel differently, but at this point, you're trying to put together the most competitive roster possible. So I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. But yeah.
I think, Brian and I were actually talking about this, and I was wondering what the fan base would think if he is suited up for the Warriors opening night against the Lakers. Like, would the fan base be happy to see him? Okay, JK is gonna, help us win this game, or would they be like, this dude does not want to be here. He's only here because he has to be here. And would they turn on him? I'm trying to figure out like what the sentiments for JK is going to be. I don't think anybody really blames him, which is the thing. But at the same time, when you make it very clear that you would rather be somewhere else, it's kind of a difficult thing for fans, I think, to kind of go like, am I rooting for this guy? Am I not rooting for this guy? Like, what's the deal here?
So the thing is I think I can't, obviously we're speculating how would fans feel. I can't speak on behalf of them, but I feel like they would be supportive. Like, they would have his back. I don't think from the onset of the season, it wouldn't be negative. I think where it gets interesting is, again, you've made it clear, this is a 1-year deal, an expiring contract. You're not coming back.
Right.
At this point, Steve Kerr isn't beholden to Kuminga, like, contractually, meaning like he doesn't have to structure his game plan in Jonathan Kuminga. And if Jonathan Kuminga does not fit his vision for this upcoming season, and now he's just basically picking up DNP after DNP, how's he going to act? Because we have seen how he acts in the past, and he's gone very public about it. Like, are you then going to become a distraction? Because if you look at, like, and we'll talk about it, all the current roster, the current core of this roster, very veteran laden, and the reported
free agents
that are likely going to happen once this is all resolved, they are all very, very savvy veterans in their own. Like, they're not really going to have any patience, in my opinion, right? Like, that's not something that they're coming here to put up with. So that's where it's going to be interesting, because if he clearly demonstrates that he is a true locker room distraction, then I think that is where the fans would potentially turn on him, because it's like, hey man, like, you're preventing us from getting where we want to go. We being like the players, Warriors, Dub Nation, like we all want to get back, to the mountaintop. So we'll see.
All right, you talked about a nice little transition here. You talked about the free agents who have kind of been tangentially tied to the Warriors. Like Malik Beasley got cleared of this like gambling probe, and I think in the midst of this scenario, like, Detroit kind of moved on from what they could have offered him, and so now he may have to take a lower contract kind of to rehab a little bit and go back out there again. but I've seen him tied to the Warriors a little bit. What do you think about Malik Beasley as a fit?
So, I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer, right? I have like my fellow NBA guys who are more in the know with terms of all those things, but I don't think he's completely out of the clear.
Okay.
Right? If I'm understanding that, like he's no longer the target of the investigation, but he's still well within being investigated to see like, to what extent he was affiliated to any of that stuff. So there is still that little ambiguity as to whether or
it
not.
does seem that previous to this, teams were like, we're not sure what we can do, but now it's like, oh, maybe we can offer him something. Maybe he is in the mix for something. But you do it with that risk for sure.
Yeah, but again, if Mike Dunleavy in the front office, if they're going to vet him as a potential free agent candidate, and they believe that he will be available for the entirety of this upcoming season, I absolutely would pursue him. And this is where it gets interesting, what we were talking about with the Kuminga thing, right? If Kuminga takes the qualifying offer, well, wait a minute, we could still give Al Horford what he wants, and we could actually match what Detroit at this point, they actually can't offer him as much anymore, right? Because they spent their free agent money or their cap space on Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, right? So at that point, we're kind of on par. Same thing with New York. I think they're only working with like what minimums, at least the teams that have kind of registered interest according to the reports. So it's like, oh, okay. I mean, I'll let you talk about some of the other reported free agents that have been affiliated with the Warriors. But I mean, compared to them, he's younger, he's more athletic, he's healthier, I mean, really, the only thing looming is this legal troubles.
Imagine signing him and then, on one of those long charter flights when they're, playing card games or whatever. They're kind of like, they're just looking at him a little bit more closely. Okay, what's this guy? Yeah. Okay, one that is more of like a fan favorite kind of thing, and I think it's kind of a fun thing to think about. And we've thought about it for years, which is the idea of Seth Curry coming in as like a 10th guy to just come and shoot threes, whenever they need it. What do you think about Seth?
Seth, man, the years go by way too fast. I remember meeting him at a fan event when he was a rookie with the Warriors, because he as his rookie year, he came to the Warriors training camp. Yeah, he participated. My goodness. And then, like, I understand why he never came back. He wanted to, kind of pave his own way, like, something separate from Steph. So I like that, he's at a point in his career, his life, where he feels comfortable, like he's already established his own identity that he can play with Steph. I'm all for it. I love it. It's just not just a narrative-driven free agent signing, Like, I think, like, they would have, well, I was about to say, would they have relatively more? Yeah, they would. They would have more success than, like, the Rodgers brothers, right, with the Giants. You know what I'm saying?
Well, just the fact that one of them is Steph Curry, I think.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. But I think I think every Warrior fan agrees we need shooting. I think he's at the point in his career, like he's absolutely comfortable coming off the bench. Same thing. He's productive no matter how many minutes you give him. Like you could yank his minutes. He could play 5 minutes one night. He could play 25 the next. He's still giving you the same amount of effort, the same attention to detail. I like it. It gets interesting, though, given the other free agents who have been reportedly linked to the Warriors. Because it's like, well, wait a minute, right? And not to get ahead, but, some of those, well, I am getting ahead. Some of those other names, right? Like a GP2 and D'Anthony Melton and a Malcolm Brogdon. Like
those are three others on my list.
Yeah, like you're really gonna bring in like all of them? Like
yeah.
And even if it's just three, like D'Anthony Melton seems to be a quote unquote lock. Okay. And then there are a lot of reports saying you're bringing in GP2. So is it either Seth or Malcolm Brogdon? And on top of that, Will Richard is supposed to be put on the 15-man roster, not a two-way. I mean, the Warriors already have their reputation of like kind of laughably having way too many undersized guards. Like, is that the right course of action? Like, I'm not sure I'm feeling it there. Like, I like all these players, in a vacuum.
So we know Melton fits. We saw it in that small sample size last year. That was like, man, and if he doesn't get hurt, do they play much better in that first half of the season? But there's like so many things that he does get hurt, then they get Jimmy, and they're off to the races. But you add him, knee injuries, like it's not 100% definite that he's going to bounce back completely. So, but we at least know that he fits. The idea of DeAnthony Melton fits. What do you think about Brogdon?
This is where it gets tough for me to say it. Like, if you're telling me Brogdon is healthy again, I would rather have Brogdon over Seth. Because Brogdon, I mean, like, we've seen it, right? During and I don't think we're completely far removed from that Malcolm Brogdon. Obviously, remember his early days with Milwaukee and Indiana. But even like with Boston, and even last year, he had 2 years ago, he had some moments with Portland. He can be a true point, like a pure point guard. He can also be like an actual two guard. Like there are combo guards, and then there are guys who actually play both. He could actually do both very well. And that's what I'm saying, right? If you're really trying to maximize each of these roster spots, I think he brings a lot more to the table than Seth. Like Seth, let's be real. Like he's coming in to be a 3-point specialist. I mean, he's got some ball handling skills, but realistically, he's not going to really be doing a lot of playmaking. I think you could actually feel comfortable with Brogdon doing that. But again, why is Brogdon available? Because he's had his health concerns over like these last 2-3 years. But I mean, I don't know. With all these other teams reporting interest, I mean, clearly he's got to be at a point where he feels comfortable, where he can actually play and endure the rigors of an 82-game season. So I'd be all for it. I like his fit. I like his fit a lot more.
And then I guess the other one, we'll talk about Horford in a second, but the other one that I've seen is Cody Martin, forward from played most of his career in Charlotte. Not a 3-point shooter necessarily. Spent like most of his career in Charlotte. Played for Phoenix at the end last year. He's the other one that was tied to them.
Yeah, I mean, I like him at that point because again, it's tough. Like if it was like Cody Martin versus GP2, I might still lean GP2 just because of the familiarity like the team has, and his familiarity obviously with like the system, like what Kerr wants to do. But at that point, if you're going to Cody Martin, I haven't heard his name connected to the Warriors lately, but it was
like last week, I think.
Yeah, no, but like I'm saying, if you're going to Cody Martin, that means you're actually willing to explore bringing in more size, more length, which is what I feel like we need, which is why I'm not as high on bringing back GP2. Because we basically play GP2 as a 6'2" power forward.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have like an actual power forward, right? Or like someone with size. So if you're willing to even consider Cody Martin, are they still willing to consider Trey Lyles? I like Trey Lyles a whole lot more. I think we need a little bit more, again, size, length in the front court. He has the ability to, shoot from distance. He can stretch the floor. So I know he was popping up in reports when free agency started, what seems like eons ago.
Yeah. What a dead time for the NBA. They've effectively with the CBA and this just the way that the cap works and nobody can really spend it. Like they've killed a lot of their offseason because no moves are really able to be made. So you're just like, what a joke that whole thing was. Like NFL's like, Thanks, guys. Like we have the whole run here. I'm
Yeah.
just thankful for the WNBA. Like at least I got something to pay attention to. But man, the NBA, the free agent, like post those first few days in July, it's just been dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, that's cool. I can, invest my full focus and attention on the WNBA, which I've truly enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, it's like there's not too much to discuss, and especially in Dub Nation.
No way. It's just so dead. It's the most dead it's been, I think, probably in I don't know how long. And then let's end with Al. Al was the first guy really that was tied to the Warriors, and he's a veteran's veteran. He's been around forever. Not the first time he's been linked to the Warriors, but he kind of is perfect for what they've needed. Yet he's a 20-minute player at this point. Maybe that's all they need him for. He's not going to play every game. You do want to preserve him a bit. What do you think about Al coming to the Warriors?
I mean, I think all things considered, it's a match made in heaven, right? Like I think, again, as you were saying, where he is at his point in career, like if he's still playing, it's because he wants, another opportunity to win a title. I mean, if it was just simply comfort, could have stayed in Boston, could have gone back to Atlanta where it all started, right? I know they registered some interest in him early in the process. Could have gone to Denver, right? With the whole let's find Jokic some competent backups. But obviously he didn't, I think he's always fit like kind of like the Warriors ethos, both on and off the court. I believe around league circles, he's considered like, a very high IQ player, again, on and off the court. I think he really fits with, Steph, Jimmy, even Draymond. And as you said, maybe he only gives you 20 minutes a night. I was kind of thinking more like 25.
Well, hey, if he can give you 25 minutes, then that is a bonus. But I know that there has been, and they haven't been able to do this, but there's been an insistence in trying to move Draymond back to power forward so that he doesn't wear down so much by the end of the season playing so much center. And that would be helpful there, but it'd also be nice to have a younger player be able to play center underneath him, which it doesn't. I mean, Post is so specific in his game. TJD is so specific in his game. And so I do wonder if they'll still have a lot of the same issues, or maybe you just save the fourth quarter for Draymond playing the five. It doesn't work. It doesn't work as well as it used to because it's not really a surprise anymore, but it still is their best lineup, it seems.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what I was thinking. I was thinking at most you use Draymond at the 5 to close out halves, assuming it's still a close game. If it's not, even better. I'm with you, though. That's where it gets interesting because as I've had, I've discussed with my friends who are Celtics writers, like beat writers, even like during when they won the championship a couple years ago, the Celtics didn't really have a true inside scoring presence. Like all their centers, like that were at least the centers that were part of the rotation, right? Al Horford, Porzingis, right? Even to a lesser extent, Luke Cornett. They're all kind of like
we played them in the finals. It wasn't just throwing lobs to Rob Williams,
right? That's the thing that they won a championship by going away from that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the recipe to success. I would prefer a little bit more floor balance, to actually have that threat. Right now, as you said, it would only really be like what TJD, because Post, Horford at this point, they're both stretch bigs. Even when Trey Lyles played with the Kings, he's like a small ball stretch 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would still like him because he can play the 4, but no, the Warriors just said we were not going to have that. So, and I'm not sure, like, again, if this TJD thing gets resolved, I don't want to keep us too long, but as you were saying, let's just say we actually do sign a bunch of those guys that we're linked to. Outside of Horford, it's a bunch of guards. Melton, GP2, Seth, Brogdon. It's a lot of guards, right? You got Will Richard, you got Moody still. Like, is there going to then be another trade in the works to kind of balance out this roster? Because we're still very guard heavy.
Yep.
So it'll really be interesting. And then of course Stephen Pods, right? So I feel like something else has got to happen before opening day. Like, but
Yeah,
it's just
for sure.
nothing's gonna happen until this Kuminga thing is resolved.
All right, let's end with your thoughts, because Brian and I didn't really cover the Warriors draft picks necessarily. We didn't even really have death lineup podcasts around that time. But since, again, I know you have a passion for this stuff. What did you think of Will Richard, and then the other pick, Alex Tui, the Australian wing? What did you think of those picks for the Warriors?
I mean, I think they were both really great value for where they were selected, being both like late second rounders. On my draft board, for what it's worth, I had each of them ranked a little bit higher than that. So I think Mike Dunleavy Jr. he read the room correctly. Like, I think he could understand which prospects might go, a little higher, which ones might be able to fall. So he was able to trade back, pick up, get 2 shots at the apple, or 2 bites at the apple, I suppose you could say. But I agree with, from all the reports, it sounds like Richard will be put on the 15-man roster. Tui will be one of the 2-way contracts. I think that's the right move. I think Richard, relatively speaking, he can contribute sooner. This is where it gets interesting. Again, he's in no way a carbon copy of GP2, but I think in terms of the role they would ask of him, at most in year 1, it would be what they would ask GP2 to do. So that's why I kind of feel like it's redundant having both of them. But I get it. GP2 is older. He's battle tested, and I get it. Great locker room presence. It's just like, I don't know. It makes me less inclined than to give Richard a 15-man roster spot, but I can also understand the cap reasons. Tui, I think, actually does have some considerable upside. I think we saw some flashes in Summer League. I know it was a little up and down. It's just he's not quite a primary scorer or shot creator. But, I mean, I think he has a really great motor. Very intuitive, like just off-ball player, which I think fits really well with the Warriors. I think you saw it, obviously in Summer League, they're going to give him the opportunity to be on ball. But you saw the moments where he was playing off of who did we have in Summer League? Like Shackelford, basically our Summer League guards, right? Where you kind of saw like how well he is, getting like early and deep seals on players, sealing off his man. You saw the footwork like in the post. You saw him able to kind of capitalize in the mid range, specifically when he's just stepping into shots. It's the type of guy you'd want. And he has a lot of like size and length. So kind of like a combo forward. I definitely understand how he could fit in the Warriors. But like I said, yeah, he'll probably need this season to kind of acclimate to the NBA. But I definitely like the upside. I think it's a worthwhile pick.
Awesome. Love the analysis, and really appreciate you coming on and helping us out while Brian is on vacation. And again, you're kind of the perfect fit for what we try to do here because of your knowledge and your fandom of both teams. And again, for anybody who wants to help us test out the Discord, let me know, gg@bspnmedia.com. Also, shout out to Rob and Ghost, who were in the chat earlier. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out and chatting with us. But Conrado, before we get out of here, is there anything you want to plug? You've mentioned your podcast a couple times. What's the latest episode that you all have done, or what do you got coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say real quick, everybody, you can just follow me on social media, on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at CP3_777. And at the top of my profile, you'll see the link to my podcast, East Meets West. Please subscribe. Would love that. Check out the videos, drop a like, drop a comment, anything. It's all appreciated. Recently having a number of guests, writers, beat writers, or like sideline reporters from each WNBA team. We recently had Kenzo Fukuda, who covers the Valks, right? He's the Valks beat writer. We just recently had Andrew Dukowitz, who is the beat writer for the Minnesota Lynx. We have a couple guests from the other teams, just trying to get an idea of each team as where each team is at as we close the WNBA regular season, and even some of like the lottery bound teams. We have some representatives from those teams coming on.
That's awesome.
And just one real quick, for the scouting group that I'm a part of, the Center Hub, we are doing a college season preview magazine. So we are actually, we are previewing all 365 Division I schools.
Wow.
So that magazine will be it is for purchase. And so in my profile, you'll see the link if you want to check it out, pre-order. It'll be great, and just get to know about the players this upcoming season, the teams, and some of whom are going to be some of the next NBA stars of tomorrow.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about this magazine. Is this going to be like a PDF?
Yeah, this year it's just going to be a PDF. I think next year, or even later in the season, we'll have another magazine for like the March Madness. That one we're going to have to try. We're going to do for print, but for this one, for this college season preview, it's a PDF. All
right. No, that is incredible. That that is a lot of teams. So if you set, I'm looking on your profile to see if I can figure out how to pre-order it. If you
I will send it. I'll put it at the top.
Yeah, shoot it for me, and I'll put it in the podcast show notes for people who if they want to.
Appreciate that.
All right. So thanks again. Rob wanted to know, lastly, how does one qualify for that scouting hub?
I mean, by all means, shoot me, submit your work and everything. Like we just have a lot of great scouts for both the men's and the women's game. I'm kind of like the unofficial WNBA lead scout of the Center Hub. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, feel free.
You got to show game, Rob. You got to step up to the plate here.
And Damian Lee's in Israel, by the way.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought he was not playing in the U.S. right now. That's based on somebody who was asked. He wanted to basically get Steph and Seth and D. Lee on the same squad. The Splash family there. All right, thanks again, Conrado. We will of course have you on anytime and hopefully soon again. And that is it from here. So for Conrado, I am Double G. Good luck to the Valkyries this weekend. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.